It is the Stephanie Miller Show. Welcome to it. 1-800-STEP-1-2, the phone number, toll free from anywhere. Associate producer Travis Bone joins us live in studio. Why?
Mumbles.
Because he was already sitting there, so I was like, yeah, just stay.
Just stay. Sit around.
Also, because he's on a bit of a booking tear this week.
He is.
All 3 hours, Kathleen Madigan yesterday.
That was awesome.
Did tours with Robin Williams.
That was amazing timing.
In Iraq and Afghanistan.
Mm-hmm.
And Rick Overton in the studio today, who I just saw on TV last night talking about Robin Williams, who was a good friend of his.
Yeah.
They worked together a lot.
Yeah.
So, ay vey, what a week.
Yeah.
Way to go, Mumbles.
I try. Every once
We
in a
just
while.
wanted to have you close enough so we can actually hear what you're saying.
Yeah. You heard.
You will be played by Dustin Hoffman in the movie.
You understood me earlier. Chris was over here in the corner with his.
First of all, I'm 1,000. Second of all, he's like out there where we keep in his little cubby hole where we shove him to answer calls.
Yeah.
And so thirdly, he'll talk to us from over there.
And fourthly, he talks so fast sometimes that you
Right.
can't understand him.
Right.
Because I know you got a lot of things in your head that you want to get
There's
out.
a lot going on.
I know,
I'm moving
I know,
really
I know,
fast. There's
I
5
know,
lines
sweetie.
ringing all at the same time.
Listen, anybody who has a spouse or a significant other that's listening now knows that we're trying. I can't hear you! Come in the room!
Stephanie's my work wife.
Right?
Yes.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
It's like, you're 7 rooms away. I can't hear what you're saying. All right. Hello.
Hi.
Good morning, Travis Bone. Hey, guess who was in here last night? Oh, because my headphones are, because I'm having a rough week. We're all having a rough week.
Yeah,
it's just a rough news cycle, a lot of death, it's just horrible.
And then Lauren Bacall, your friend.
Oh my God, and celebrities in threes, and now the ghoulish betting pools is who's the biggest.
It was the Voice of the Friskies commercial. I saw Chris's Facebook
No,
post
it's
yesterday.
Fancy Feast, thank you.
I love
Good
Lauren Bacall.
taste is easy to recognize.
Okay, in case anybody can remember Mama's story, one of Mama's stories was interviewing Lauren Bacall on
Pure Oxygen with May Lee.
Right. Oh, exactly.
Yes.
Oh, May and I can talk about that
We'll
later.
ask her about it on Friday.
Only I got to interview Lauren Bacall. They put me in the line of fire
How
to
does
ask her the
that
bogey
happen?
questions. I don't know.
Well, she's a professional journalist, and you're
Right?
just a screw.
She probably pussed out. So they're like, she probably pussed out. She's like, she'll do it. She'll ask her anything.
Threw you to the wolves.
Right. But anyway, so she was terrifying and yet delightful.
Yep.
I found her terrifying and delightful.
And did you know, with her death, everybody that Madonna name checks in the song Vogue is dead?
That is so sad that you know that.
Well, yeah, it rocketed around the internet last night.
Okay.
Yeah.
I heard that too.
Yeah.
Wow.
The gays were mourning.
I think Slate did an article
The gays
on it.
were mourning.
Madonna is officially old.
And I saw that the Robin Williams, is it from Birdcage? The Madonna, Fosse, that whole piece. I love that. I am very depressed over Robin Williams.
Yeah,
I really am.
Chris has issues with that movie.
I never really liked that movie.
Get out. Get out. You take his job.
It's a bit of a gay minstrel show.
I understand.
But you know what? It takes a village, and every village needs its theater troupe.
Right.
And that's what they
Exactly.
were.
You're not the only gay in the village.
Well, I know, but I just think it's, the gays being really queenie for the entertainment of the straights.
I loved it. Anyway.
Okay.
I'm not talking to you anymore. Travis.
I thought the Birdcage was fabulous.
All right, I was trying to make a point that my headphone was all tangled, and you guys asked, do I come down here at night after cocktails and do another whole show? Maybe.
A la
Who can
Sarah
remember?
Palin. Well, turn the cameras on. We need
right.
the content.
We need the premium content.
Yes.
I want you to come down here and start talking about fast food employees.
Okay, but you know who's here is the creepy guy that owns the show that's trying to kill me for the life insurance
is he?
money.
Oh.
He was here for dinner last night.
Is he upstairs right now?
Is he here now?
Who knows? I don't know.
Is he
Cocktail hour?
Is he going to shuffle down here in his boxers? And
How many men do you have sleeping in this house with you?
yeah.
I don't. That's how bad it's gotten. I don't know. All right. All I do know is that Rush Limbaugh is an ass bite.
Yes, he is.
How did I know? Like, you don't even have to, like, I was thinking it yesterday, except I was too, a lot of people have been really affected. I didn't know Robin Williams, but it's just, particularly if you've been dealing with death a lot in your personal life like I have, and I just was really affected by it. So I could not even go over into right-wing world or into because I didn't, you just told me this morning, his daughter Zelda has just left social media after abuse that she took on social media about her father dying.
Yeah, she was sent abuse and extremely graphic photoshopped images on Twitter. So she's just completely left social media, and I can't say that I blame her.
People, is there any chance we can be less horrible seriously. But Rush Limbaugh, like, I'm going, how did I not? Of course he was going to politicize it. And didn't I say this yesterday? I'm like, yeah, anytime a Hollywood celebrity, okay. And he's from San Francisco. I was like,
with those San Francisco liberals.
Yeah. And sure enough, on cue, I believe, Eric Wollert's on the big show today as well, and Michael Tomasky, and Rick Overton live in studio.
Yep.
Right, Mumbles?
Yes, I booked them all. Even pulled a switch this morning.
That was incredibly. He over-enunciated. So
I know. I think he's going to be self-conscious about that from now on.
Much like
for years, people will be like, "Why do you over-enunciate?" I took so much abuse from those two.
Much like Chris with his muscles, I'm overcompensating with my voice right now.
What are you overcompensating for?
I was a scrawny kid.
Yes, you were.
And
actually, you
were a husky
boy.
Well, yes, I was a husky kid. And so
tell us again where you shop for pants.
The husky section of Sears.
And tell us the moment that was ingrained in your psyche.
We were shopping for Tough Skins before school. Before the school season started, and we were trying on Tough Skin pants, and the sales lady leaned over to my mom and whispered in her ear, "I think we're going to have to go to the husky section."
Except in that really loud stage whisper that clearly you heard, as it is ingrained in your psyche.
And there was so much shame enveloped in that little phrase.
Was that the first time anyone ever threw shade at you?
I don't know. Yeah, it was. It was.
One can only imagine what Dr. Keith Abloh would have to say about you, psychoanalyzing you.
Wait to hear.
Oh, should we start with that aspect before we get to the Rush Limbaugh aspect?
Sure. Okay.
Okay. I have a vagina, so I have body image issues, as everyone with a vagina does.
Which is why you spin 25 hours a week.
Right, because I don't know if men, you have that because of your husky, tough-skinned moment, but not a lot of men necessarily.
No.
I don't think as many as women. But can I just say, I do not... Speaking of people just being mean, I don't get it about Michelle Obama. She is gorgeous.
Yes.
And she's strong. She's not tiny, but look at her arms.
She's got the right to bear arms.
Yes, thank you.
Second Amendment right there.
They're jealous of those guns.
That's right.
Second Amendment people. Anyway, this guy, what is he's the one he's this pop psychologist that goes on Fox and psychoanalyzes the president and he has daddy issues and whatever.
Because he's never met him or sat down with him, so he's qualified to do any of these things.
Yeah.
So they were talking about Michelle Obama's it's this radical idea that maybe childhood obesity is a problem in our country. Maybe we should try to do something about it and encourage healthier eating.
Right. She's not passing any laws. She can't pass any laws.
Right.
Yeah, she's suggesting to parents that maybe your kid should eat a little better.
Maybe you'd prefer your kid doesn't get diabetes at 4.
So she's not forcing anything on your kids or anything.
Right, okay.
So this clip starts with Kennedy on Outnumbered on Fox News, and then it goes into Keith Abloh.
All right.
Michelle Obama is so, like, the Duchess when she speaks about... She is. Because, by the way, they're not
going to eating. She needs to drop a few.
You did not say that. Oh, my goodness. Are we on a 7-second delay?
I want nutrition advice from...
Michelle Obama, she needs to lose the
Well, no, let's be honest. Like, I mean, there's no French fries happening. That's all kale and carrots. I don't buy it.
Oh, my goodness gracious.
Well, I'm just saying.
Okay, listen.
Her husband, I want some nutrition advice from Barack.
Wow, I don't think any acting awards will be given out for them pretending that they're shocked that Dr. Keith Abloh is a hole. I don't think this is the first. Oh, my goodness gracious. Why, you've said something totally inappropriate.
I think
Say some more.
I think they were genuinely offended, though, because Outnumbered is 4 women and 1 man.
Right.
That's the premise of the show on Fox News, and so I think they were genuinely
so the theme of the show is just why people are so mean.
Yeah.
It's really, are we back? It is like Lord of the Flies time.
Yeah.
So, okay.
It's like you can't go to the comment section. You can't. Now you can't turn on Fox News. It's like.
Yeah. Anyway, Rush Limbaugh politicizing Robin Williams' death. There's another, I don't know, we'll get to that later. Some Minnesota Republican official turned it into a political thing. It just, really, people, is there not a moment we can just be...
human?
Yes, exactly. Here is Rush.
You had to attach not a philosophy, but an attitude to a leftist worldview. It's one of pessimism and darkness, sadness. They're never happy, are they? Do you know that the real reasons that Robin Williams killed himself, he had it all, but he had nothing. Made everybody else laugh, but was miserable inside. I mean, it fits a certain picture or a certain image that the left has. I mean, it's about low expectations and this general unhappiness and so forth.
Right.
Can I just say?
Yes, sir.
Projecting much Rush Limbaugh?
I was just going to say, who better to get life coaching from than someone married? What marriage is he on now? And what kind of drug addiction did he have?
OxyContin.
Yeah, I guess it's because he's so happy all the time.
And bitter and nasty and everything he says about... He says that we're pessimists, as opposed to they saying that they're going to destroy the country, they're going to ruin the world, the dictator Obama.
Mumbles has been storing up a lot inside.
Yes. This is what happens.
And now he's given an opportunity to speak, and you see what happens? Look at him.
Yes. I listen to Rush Limbaugh when I leave the show. I have a lot of feelings about that. Angry, bitter.
This is really all about Eve. Why did I let him in here? Because clearly he has just become a talk radio star, and I've this is like A Star Is Born.
Yes.
Right? I'm on my downward spiral.
And
I'm going to go answer phones now.
Okay.
Was that the premise of
That'll
A Star
make
Is
me
Born?
feel better about myself for a moment.
Or is that all? That was all about Eve. That wasn't A Star Is Born.
I meld, as I often do, I mash some movie references together.
Okay.
It started with All About Eve, and then I was talking about A Star Is Born.
Okay.
Also Showgirls.
Yes.
I'm gonna push you down those stairs just like Nomi did.
I am winded by that Rush Limbaugh soundbite.
Yeah.
I'm going to need time to recover, much like when I was hit in the stomach with a basketball by John Comstock during a battle ball game
Just remember
at St. Mary's.
And then you were pushed into the bushes by Carol
Yes.
Fisher.
Okay, we've known each other way too long. Because let's not even start about Roman
front of the
Gomez.
Y.
Roman Gomez, your childhood bully.
That's right.
All right. 18 minutes after... 18 minutes after the hour, right back on the Stephanie Miller Show.
Call dead.
Everybody that Madonna names is now dead. Rest in peace, Lauren Bacall. Okay. 1-800-STEPH-12, the phone number. Toll free from anywhere. Rick in Chicago, you're on the Stephanie Miller Show. Welcome.
Good morning.
Somebody hacked up a hairball. Sorry. Okay. Hello, Rick.
Good morning. When I heard what Rush Limbaugh said, I just absolutely almost slammed on the brakes to pull over to call you. I'm a conservative.
Well, we weren't on at the time, but...
Right.
And I just can't stand this kind of garbage going on. I mean, Robin Williams gave the world nothing but everything he had and gave us all a great gift. I mean, I just can't imagine somebody saying something nasty to his family or nasty about him in a political or personal way. So I just called to tell you that I'm going to be calling the Rush Limbaugh Show and writing them a letter saying this is just, I mean, it's just time for him to retire. Let somebody else take over that has more, I don't know, just more of a heart. For those in the opposition, I don't see Stephanie Miller or the Moops or anybody on the other side of the political spectrum as my enemy or somebody that I need to hate. Just politically, we disagree, and we will wave at each other across the street as we all tend to our rose gardens and whatnot. And we just need to. If this doesn't bring us all together, at least for a brief moment, say we've all suffered a great loss.
Yeah.
Then Lauren Bacall, I mean, what a wonderful life. And
oh, by the way, she's on record as saying she's a Democrat, so make sure you tune into Rush to see what nasty stuff he has to say about her today. Cause,
my mother and father were Democrats, so that would be.
My mother and father were Republicans, so there you go. Yeah.
Well,
all right, honey.
Bacall, I don't know.
All right. Thank you, Rick. I appreciate it. Yes. Wow. Conservatives and decency.
Sure.
There you go. Get reacquainted. Okay. Yeah, I didn't. We played as much as we could stand with that Rush Limbaugh thing, but yeah, I was trying to. I don't even know where to start with all just this sort of pop psychology, but to try to. Anyway, the other thing he said is Williams suffered from survivor's guilt after losing friends. First of all, God, as Travis said, project much. God save us from Rush Limbaugh doing psychology on anyone else. Yeah. But after losing friends like Christopher Reeve, Andy Kaufman, and John Belushi, For the record, by the way, Williams said he admired Kaufman, but only spoke to the comedian once when he wasn't in character. So it's like, to like extrapolate about people that you've never met.
Right. And to think that you know them and know what they're thinking is offensive.
Right. I mean, and I get it. I mean, Kathleen Madigan, who, worked with Robin Williams and loved him. I mean, of course, it's going, and I think it's good, actually, that it leads to a larger discussion about depression and about suicide and about all that, but that's different than politicizing it and going, oh, this is because he was a liberal. And, I mean, as if, someone said, I was reading this on Mediaite. That's right. According to Limbaugh, depression and suicide are unique to the political left. I mean, give me a break,
Please.
Anyway. All right, so... Oh, and this is the guy. Minnesota Republican official politicizes Robin Williams' death. Her name's Ellen Anderson. She's the director of digital media for the Minnesota Democratic Farmer Labor Party.
Right.
Tweeted her admiration of Williams. And again, because she happens to be a Democrat, she wasn't politicizing it. What she tweeted was, my cat's nickname is Nanu Nanu. The world is lucky Robin Williams was able to share his genius with so many.
That was
Period.
That was a person just showing her admiration for Robin Williams.
So she received an unexpected response from Chris Fields, the deputy chairman of the Minnesota Republican Party. Again, just because you happen to be a Democratic official doesn't mean anything you tweet that's, like you said, just personal and human is an opportunity for a political attack. But so this guy tweets back, how very 80s. Want an economy like we had in the 80s under Reagan? Vote Jeff for Gov tomorrow in the primary. I mean, really? So he did not walk back his comments after the criticism ensued and doubled down on his remarks. He said, it's curious to me why people mourn the loss of celebrities but ignore the misery everyday people live in with policies that crush hope and opportunity. He since removed the tweets. I don't know what the deal is with people deleting tweets these days because they're screen captures. You can't make it not happen. But okay. Actually, the Republican gubernatorial candidate he was touting in that also condemned the tweets. So good for him. He said the tweets last night mixing Robin Williams' death with politics were inappropriate and wrong. America will dearly miss him. So once again, But, and again, you don't want to speculate, but you go, I'm sure because it was such widespread condemnation.
Yeah.
I don't know. But,
I guess it looks like Jeff won his primary yesterday.
Okay.
So, unfortunately.
Oh, right. Okay, so when we come back, obviously a lot of people, we have the press conference from yesterday. I mean, obviously people know by now that he hanged himself. It was asphyxiation by hanging, and it's the whole thing is just so sad. He obviously had tried to slit his wrist, perhaps. And anyway, so we'll be more details on that and non-political thoughts on Robin Williams. 29 minutes after the hour, right back on the Stephanie Miller Show.
Turn your phone off. I heard your email alert go off.
Very important. Very busy. 34 minutes after the hour. 1-800-STEPH-12, the phone number. Toll free from anywhere. Eric Bowler coming up. Michael Tomasky coming up. Rick Overton live in studio. And I will have to ask him. I forget which show he was on last night talking about his friend Robin Williams. But anyway, oh, by the way, someone else on my Twitter feed said that. I'm sorry, we were talking yesterday about James Lipton and the unintentional moments of dark comedy. But with him saying, what show am I on? Where am I? Who is this? I understand he was a little.
Well, also when you're
like, is this? He doesn't understand Vacation Host. He's like, what is this? Where's Chris Matthews? Is it where? Am I on Hardball? What?
Well, when you're doing a satellite tour, you've done these satellite tours. You go from one to another, and you might not know.
He wasn't on a satellite tour. He was.
No, he was doing a whole bunch of shows.
Okay.
Yeah. So.
Right, but no, satellite tour is different. That's when you're promoting a specific project and you stay in one place and people come in and interview you. That's not what he was doing. He was at MSNBC.
Oh, he was at MSNBC?
Yeah, I believe so, yes.
Okay.
All right.
He was also on CNN and he was on a few other things
because
too.
That's what he was saying. He's like, so many people are calling. I don't.
Okay.
Because, yes, obviously. Okay. But you know what's interesting, too, is he was asked a lot of questions. It is interesting that he's and I get it, it's human nature, like, in terms of you go, what's appropriate to speculate about or not, but people are human. And he was beloved, Robin Williams, whether people knew him or not. But it was interesting. They were asking him a lot of personal questions about his family, and he said, I didn't meet his family. Like, he interviewed him. I mean, he's associated with him because that
was the first 2 hour.
But he's like, I've interviewed him. That's he said I don't know his family.
The Robin Williams episode of Inside the Actors Studio was the first 2 hour episode of that show.
Right.
So that was a huge episode for him.
Yeah, and they won the Emmy for it, and also I guess they did a poll of who was the favorite guest of every show, and it was Robin Williams. Yeah. So it's I mean, so I understand why they went to him, but that's what I mean about whether it's Robin Williams or Rush Limbaugh, whoever. I mean, people that didn't know him. At least James Lipton was honest about going. I didn't talk to him about a lot of this stuff that you're asking me. So anyway, but yeah, a lot of people obviously. I think it would be sad, whatever the circumstance, but I think that suicide's it's a tough thing, and particularly I heard yesterday. I think it's 34,000 Americans commit suicide every year. So it touches a nerve for a lot of reasons, and not just because he was beloved, but just because I think we were talking to Kathleen Madigan. I think it's also time to have a really a conversation, because it is interesting that, and I don't know because I didn't know him but somebody called yesterday and said, he was bipolar. Well, he didn't ever say that. So you don't. But then you go, but is that because of shame that people feel like that's the one thing they can't really say? I think he did. There was one interview where he talked about. I guess they put him on a cover of a magazine and said, "Is everybody crazy?" And he was offended by that. He goes, yes, my comedy is manic, but I'm not. So he rejected those labels, and I don't know whether it's out of shame or that he wasn't, or he. I mean, that's the problem with people trying to figure out. And Kathleen talked about that he was very public about his struggles with substance abuse. Sure. But she was also saying the combination of real depression, clinical depression, and substance abuse, and how those interact. I mean, it's a yeah.
And depression is not something you can snap out of.
Right.
You can't say, go shopping, you'll feel better. It's not like that. It's a chemical imbalance in your brain that just makes you feel numb, awful, antisocial.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And somebody was saying that yesterday about, there's a difference between sadness and actual clinical depression that sometimes people confuse when they say, I'm depressed. Yeah. There's a difference between the actual, clinical meaning of that. Anyway, so the sheriff's office gave a press conference yesterday that you probably saw clips of his cause of death, asphyxiation by hanging. And I was saying, again, people go, it's inappropriate, but James Lipton blurted it out. He's like, did he hang himself? I mean, just because you can't help, it's human nature to go, and then when you hear the details, and it was a belt, and he'd apparently tried to, they found a pocket knife and scratches on his wrist. And dried
blood on the pocket knife. Yeah, they're testing to see if it's his, and probably is, but,
Yeah. Anyway, and as you were saying, toxicology reports are pending, but it's, the other interesting thing, when asked if Williams left behind a note, the sheriff said, we're not going to discuss the note at this time. Yesterday, it seemed like
they said they acknowledged that there was a note.
Well, that's the way the quote is printed here. I don't know. I remember yesterday they said the first report out was there wasn't a note. Right. The way he worded that, it sounds like it is. He says we're not going to discuss the note at this time, and I don't know whether maybe he misspoke in terms of we're not going to discuss whether there was one or we're not going to discuss. Yeah. At any rate, here he is, Lieutenant Keith Boyd, Marin County Sheriff's Department. Marin County, sorry.
Mr. Williams had been seeking treatment for depression. Preliminary results of the forensic examination revealed supporting physical signs that Mr. Williams' life ended from asphyxia due to hanging.
Okay, and then he talked about
toxicology testing will be conducted to determine if Mr. Williams had any chemical substances in his system at the time of his death. Toxicology results will not be available for approximately 2 to 6 weeks while the testing is being performed.
Anyway, yeah, because we were saying, you can't, again, human nature, that at least, not about you, but, among your friends and whatever, people talk about, like, wow, that's a particularly horrible way to die, and, was he numbed in some way, because that seems...
That's why the toxicology reports are going to be so
right, and there's
important.
Also a difference between people that attempt and people that, clearly are, really want to make sure that.
Yeah, I don't know if he's attempted before.
Right, that was the other thing they said they would not, they would not discuss. Yeah. But, and... Again, human nature that you don't know. It's interesting because it's interesting. You go back through interviews and he talked about a lot of stuff because you kind of go in terms of like what's appropriate to talk about or not. You go, well, a lot of it he talked about. Yeah. And so,
and he was open about his money issues.
Right, and that's in the New York Post. But again, because he was on record, this is a family friend, I guess, spoke with Radar Online. He said all he could talk about were serious money troubles. There were clearly other issues going on, and Robin sounded distant during the telephone conversation. He opened up about his money problems in Parade magazine last year, in which he mentioned how hard it was to deal with divorce. He said divorce is expensive. It's ripping your heart through your wallet. After the cancellation of his CBS show, The Crazy Ones, in May, a family friend told Radar, there's that one, that Williams was having an extremely difficult time coping with the show being axed.
Yeah.
I mean, this is the other thing that you made this point yesterday, Chris, about depression, because on its face, that's the first thing everyone says, oh my God, he was by any standards so incredibly successful and, talented and...
Success doesn't cure depression.
But that's what I'm saying, is that it's not. That's not what depression is. It's your view of yourself. So I mean, to him, and particularly maybe after having such an amazing career, that this felt because
like a failure.
For the rest of us, you're like going, who even in all of the outpouring of love history, who even thought about that CBS? Like, it is. That's what's so sad, Chris. Is you go. Nobody probably even noticed or cared about that. He has had such an amazing career, but to him, I guess it was huge. It felt probably huge and humiliating, and
and so much was riding on it for him. Much was riding on the success of this show for him, especially financially. He took a TV show rather than another movie, in order to help pay off his debts.
Right.
And it failed spectacularly, and that had to have been humiliating on top of the depression.
Kathleen was talking about that's maybe what the rest of us normal people don't see, that when you get to that level, it takes a lot to keep it, stay at that level, and I'm sure that's part of the pressure, but he... anyway, after the cancellation, a family friend told Radar Williams was having a difficult time with it. Robin slipped into a deep depression. The friend said he felt embarrassed and humiliated that the show had been a failure. And again, just amazing. I mean, everybody was playing that clip yesterday of what's the movie he was in, where his character says, because his son, you talked about yesterday, his son commits suicide in the movie, and he says suicide is a permanent solution to temporary problems. But again, this obviously. But
that's him playing a part. He didn't write those words.
No. But I mean, anyway, the friend said it told Radar here he was in his 60s and forced to take a role on television for the money. It's just not where he thought he would be at this point in his life. And I listen. I mean, I said yesterday we all struggled with. I mean, I joke about my dreams have died, but we've all struggled with moments where we go, whether it's in love or in career, where you go, my life isn't where I thought it would be or where I hoped it would be, but
he still has 4 movies yet to be released.
I know.
And so he wasn't a failure.
Right, and how much you want to bet, like one of those is going to be a huge success. And that's what I mean about suicide. You never know what's right around the corner.
Right.
In terms of, that's what I mean.
He's going to be in a third night at the museum. Right. That's still to come out, I think, this December.
Right.
That's going to be a huge hit.
I am actually inexplicably happy-clappy, given the realities of my life. I refuse to give up hope that something is around the corner. Maybe the light in the tunnel is a train, but still.
You never know.
All right, let's do one quick one. Gordon in Chicago, you're on the Stephanie Miller Show. Hey, Gordon.
Hey, good morning. I don't agree when people say it's the cowardly way. I hear a lot of that. A lot.
Gordon, by the way, before you go on, because that's in terms of people saying and doing awful things, I missed that one. Shep Smith called Robin Williams a coward.
He walked that back later on. Still.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I got friends, Facebook friends. Oh, it's a cowardly way. Well, here's the deal. It's a disease. So he held out as long as he possibly could. People hold on to cancer. They hold on. Maybe it was time he let go. And there's another thing I was thinking about. Whenever there's a school shooting, mass shooting, people say, oh, I don't have a problem with him taking his own life. It's when they take other people. That's cowardly, when you take others with him. Maybe he was protecting other people. You don't know. People both split it. But to call him a coward, he's been battling this for years, according to everybody else. So depression's a disease, and he finally let go, perhaps. Maybe it wasn't even financial. He was well off. These are problems of rich people he had. He was well off. It's not money. It's a disease.
Yeah, no, exactly, Gordon. And
about cowardly,
Yeah. But, I mean, the other thing is just honestly, to call anybody names at that particular, on the day of the news is just, and I think you're right, is you don't know somebody's internal struggles, and it's, and I get it that, because it happens in families that, thanks, Gordon. that, of course, anger is one of the emotions. Mm-hmm. I saw that on my friend who just died of an accidental drug overdose a couple of weeks ago. On the Facebook page, her family's like saying, we're all struggling with anger and this and depression, and so that's understandable. But yeah, I mean, to judge what someone else is going through and that just, I don't know. Anyway, how did he walk it back, Shepard Smith? Exactly. How did he walk that back?
He actually did apologize for saying that.
Okay.
So but still, for that to even go through his mind.
Yeah. All right, 46, judge not. Yes, lest ye be judged, right? Yeah. 46 minutes after the hour. Right back on the Stephanie Miller Show. Now, 1-800-STEPH-12, the phone number, toll free from anywhere. Chris, who said, I'm a total Democrat. I'm anti-Republican, and it's only fair that you should know it. I'm liberal, the L word. Who said that?
William F. Buckley.
No, another L word. Lauren Bacall.
Oh.
So, make sure you tune into Rush Limbaugh today to see what horrible things he has to say about her. Okay. Let's go to Pat in Wisconsin. You're on the Stephanie Miller Show. Hello, Pat.
Hey, Steph. This has been particularly raises pain for me because as a small child, 50 years ago, it'll be the day after Christmas, my father committed suicide.
Yeah.
And it's the family as well as the individual that suffers. You ask, what did I do? Was it something, that I said or did?
Oh, it's a lifetime of coulda, shoulda, wouldas.
It is. And the thing is that in my father's case, it took me to become an adult in a couple of wars like Vietnam and the ones in Iraq and Afghanistan to understand that when he did the things he did in World War II, he was scarred. And that's why I worry greatly about the people who are coming back from these wars because suicide is very high amongst our returning troops.
More than combat deaths. I mean, exactly.
Exactly. And this just brought so many things back to me about, growing up your whole life, not having your father there for every occasion, including walking down the aisle. You know, and it's just, I feel so sorry for his children and his wife.
Well, and also, Pat, this is an ongoing discussion we've had on the show about social media, and have we gotten meaner, or do we just have more outlets for it? But the fact that his daughter Zelda has had to leave social media because of abuse about her father's death, I mean, seriously, I don't even know, you don't even know what to say about that.
Breathtaking.
Yeah.
Well, I think it's because of the feeling that you're anonymous when you write those things, therefore you can say your mean things and think nobody knows who I am, so I can just let it all hang out.
Yeah. Well, exactly. I mean, but I think the ironic thing is that almost makes you more depressed. You think, like, people get depressed because, somebody was saying that, all the bad news in the world, that can impact people that are already depressed about other things maybe in their own life. But this is even further more depressing that you just go, are people really this awful? Because it's and of course there's good people in the world. Hey, guess what? Guess who one of them was? Robin Williams.
Yep.
I don't know if you saw this story. Is Jessica Chastain, the star of Zero Dark 30 and other,
among others. Yeah.
Yeah. Robin Williams gave her a scholarship to Juilliard. She's a 2-time Oscar nominee.
Mm-hmm.
She said she was on her Facebook post. She explained, Robin Williams changed my life. He was a great actor and a generous person. Through a scholarship, he made it possible for me to graduate college. His generous spirit will forever inspire me to support others as he supported me. He will forever be missed. He is a because obviously he's a Juilliard. Kathleen talked about this yesterday. He's a Juilliard alumni, and he gives a scholarship every 2 years to a student, and it pays for everything. When she talked about this, she still hadn't gotten to meet him. But
even with his money troubles, he was so generous with his money. That's God.
No, and Kathleen talked about comic relief, which obviously was for the homeless.
Sure.
So there was a piece today about he was our generation's Bob Hope, in that he did so many. Obviously some with Kathleen, he did so much for the troops.
Because Good Morning Vietnam affected him so much that he wanted to get back to the troops.
Right.
So after Good Morning Vietnam, he just went on, every USO tour he could.
Yep. Michael in California, you're on the Stephanie Miller Show. Hi, Mike.
Hey, Steph and Chris. Just a quick question. Do you think that celebrity, especially as a comedian, who has to make people laugh, becomes a curse to the individual, especially because if they have problems, on the inside? Do you think that celebrity is a curse?
Okay.
Well, first of all, as we said, 34,000 people killed themselves in the United States. It's just, obviously, the other thing is we obviously don't know them, all of them, but we know the Chris Farleys and John Belushis and Robin Williams, right?
Correct.
So I mean, that's, and Kathleen talked about this. It's like, I think you have to be careful of painting with a broad brush any group of human beings. It's like, some comedians angry? Yeah, sure. Some of them are. Are some people angry? Yes. It's like, and I think, but Kathleen was saying, like, her comedy doesn't come from pain or anger or whatever. I suppose some people's does.
Yeah, Jay. Well, the other thing that comes to mind is Lady Diana. Remember when the paparazzi, they were hounding her? Or I don't know what happened with her, but she was a celebrity, and she ended up dead in a tunnel, you know? I mean, and what are your thoughts? Yeah.
She didn't kill herself.
Yeah, that's a bit of a different situation.
Yeah. Thank you, Stephanie.
All right, honey. Thank you.
You know what? Depression just hits people, whether you're a celebrity or not, and so I don't know if...
Well, right, the famous people are the ones we hear about. It's interesting. I'm saving a little bit of this piece, or we can talk about it with Rick later, because I thought, like, you knew these pieces were going to come out. You know, NBC News, this one, Robin Williams, the funny face of depression. Then they start talking about studies, and I mean, we'll ask Rick what he thinks, but they make the point here that you did, Chris. Depression can strike anyone at any time, but for many it comes as a surprise when someone who seemingly has it all and makes the world laugh is quietly suffering.
That makes absolutely no difference.
Yeah.
So success makes absolutely no difference.
This is right. This is the part I had mentioned. The comedian had denied having manic depression or bipolar disorder or even clinical depression in a 2006 interview with Terry Gross on NPR.
You know, there's a stigma attached to it.
That's right. He's described being slapped with a label after posing for the cover of Newsweek for a 1998 story headlined, "Are We All a Little Crazy?" He said, and when the guy said, well, do you ever get depressed? I said, yeah, sometimes I get sad. I mean, you can't watch news for more than 3 seconds and go, oh, this is depressing. And then immediately, all of a sudden, they branded me as manic depressive. I was like, that's clinical. I'm not that. Williams said on NPR, do I perform sometimes in a manic style? Yes. Am I manic all the time? No. Which Kathleen said that too, that he's not like that all the time. Do I get sad? Oh, yeah. Does it hit me hard? Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, and again, you're right. Like, you don't know. Was he not any of those, or was he just too ashamed of it? You don't know. I mean, that's the problem.
That was also before his open heart surgery.
Right. Which also is research has showed can make you depressed. But anyway,
can change your brain chemistry.
Yeah, but I saved this. I'm going to talk to Rick. They did an Oxford University study about looking at psychotic traits among comedians. I'm like, oh boy.
Oh, really?
All right. Michael Tomasky next. He has a piece on what's going on in Iraq. Yep. Very, very interesting. 58 minutes after the hour, right back on the Stephanie Miller Show. It is the Stephanie Miller Show. Welcome to it. 6 minutes after the hour. 1-800-STEPH-12, the phone number. Toll free from anywhere. Rick Overton, comedian extraordinaire, friend of Robin Williams, live in studio with us. I saw him on TV last night. And he as he always does, he had just had some brilliant insights. We will see him shortly. All right. And also Eric Bowler, speaking of brilliant. It is a brilliant parade in the sense that now I say good morning, Michael Tomasky. Hello, sir. Good morning.
Hello, Stephanie.
You are always ahead of your time, sir. You actually wrote a piece, Why Liberals Should Back the Iraq Intervention. And on cue, Americans support airstrikes in Iraq is the headline this morning. I don't know if you've seen this poll.
No.
Yeah, 58% of Americans in a new poll supported Obama's authorization of airstrikes against insurgents in Iraq. 24% say they oppose. Interesting. I mean, you say you start out by saying, yes, the United States helped create ISIS, but that hardly means we shouldn't try to correct the error. In fact, it means just the opposite. Explain what you mean by that, Mike.
Well, this is part of an ongoing debate, between sort of mainstream liberals and people farther to the left about America's role in the world and American foreign policy. And, people on the farther left say, we've done all these horrible things, Guatemala and Iran and these coups and so on and so forth. And the fact that we've done all these horrible things means that we just, we shouldn't be doing anything. It exposes our, we're just imperialist war makers, and violence and death result from everything we do. And, I say that there's no question that we did those things, and those were awful things, and there's no reason to make excuses for those, and a lot of those things we did were abominable. But we haven't only done bad things. We've done some good things, the tradition of the Marshall Plan and Camp David Accords and some other things that were major diplomatic breakthroughs that didn't make the world, a land of milk and honey, but that did make the world a better place.
Well, and I get that. I was going to say, Michael, I think this poll also shows Americans kind of, what's the word, reticence. I mean, they back him conducting airstrikes, but strongly oppose sending ground troops. So I think you're right that a lot of us have like anti-interventionist thoughts and particularly right after Iraq, right? But as you say, there's a difference between, let's say, the Iraq invasion, which of course was a disastrous mistake, and as you say, pick any of the other things we've done in the world that, as you say, it's a grisly record, and no one should try to deny for a second that it exists. But 2 points: first, past sins and even crimes aren't reason to withdraw from the world. Indeed, their existence is all the more reason to try to get it right this time. How could the fact we've often acted against our stated values in the past conceivably mean we should never try to act in harmony with them? Yeah, I mean, I think it's an interesting, because you're right, a lot of this stuff, it's nuanced. It's not black or white.
Yeah, and I think, a lot of people, when they hear, and Clinton said this in her interview with Jeff Goldberg, when they hear the word engagement, they automatically think that means military, that means war, that means troops, that means carnage, that means imperialism. But, engagement doesn't have to mean that. It can mean a lot of different things. And it's not the same, this is not sending 140,000 troops into a country to try and change a country and society. This is a limited thing with clear objectives that I hope we achieve. And it really is, and as I also said in there, I mean, if ever there was a case where we can clearly do something that is in line with what we claim to be our values, it's stopping people like this.
Well, yeah, exactly. Interesting. John Kerry said this yesterday, Mike.
We are prepared to consider additional political, economic, and security options as Iraq starts to build a new government.
And you sort of make that point in the piece that it's not just military what we're doing.
No, Kerry and others in the administration, Susan Rice and others, have been working hard for a long time to try and get Maliki out of there and to try and get a better prime minister and a better government in there. And now it's actually sort of encouraging temporarily. Of course, Maliki's not leaving. I understand that. He's being resistant. But, we and Iran agree, and many other actors, all the other principal actors in the region, agree that he has to go. ISIS is partly responsible for that. ISIS says everybody doesn't like ISIS, and so when they've united us, the United States and Iran, on a position that Iraq needs a better, more responsive, more inclusive, more stable government. So there is a strong diplomatic aspect here as well.
And by the way, you make a good point. You say, I'm not linking arms with John McCain here. I was against the Iraq War and the neocons and their Cold War precursors, etc. But, basically you're saying the case against ISIS is about as clear a case as it ever gets. And you say we have to try to stop them. The other thing, you go into a whole thing about are they as formidable as we think they are, and you say if they really aren't, that's all the more reason we should take them out now. We don't know their capabilities exactly, but we know their intentions, and I think that's important.
Yeah, and I can't pretend to be an expert on their capabilities, but about their intentions, they've been crystal clear. They've been as clear as anybody in modern history. They've established a caliphate over part of Iraq and Syria. They want to extend it. They've said very clearly. They want Iraq, Syria, Jordan, Lebanon. That's 60 million people. I mean, if they become a nation state that governs, God forbid.
Mike, speaking of Syria, obviously the big story we're hearing is that President Obama at this meeting with lawmakers, a private meeting, said the idea that he should have armed the Syrian rebels, he called the criticism horse.
Yeah.
Reportedly. And what do you make of this whole, obviously, the back and forth between Hillary Clinton and the Obama administration? Because First of all, you know, as you write, Obama dismissed the notion of any kind of moderate Syrian opposition as a fantasy, whereas obviously Clinton said the failure to try to build this fighting force left a vacuum that the jihadists had filled. But isn't the fact that John McCain, among others, had his picture taken with these guys, like, who he called moderate, who turned out not to be, doesn't that show how complex that the president is right, I think, on this?
Yeah, I don't know. I really go back and forth on this. I think the statement, Clinton's statement that it did create a vacuum is true. Whether that means that vacuum would have been prevented or plugged or whatever you do with vacuums,
right?
Is
and I get that maybe she's trying to stake a separate position in advance of running for president. But I was reading in this one piece, Michael. It says Clinton and many lawmakers acknowledged that arming the rebels was risky and might not have worked. That's what I mean. It's hard to go back. What are we going to go back in the DeLorean and know? Okay, because it was so messy, and it is so messy. You're right. You're going. You don't. How do you know which ones are moderate and which arms are going to fall into the wrong hands? Right.
Yeah, and it was also hard with the games that were being played by the Gulf states, particularly Saudi Arabia and Qatar. Saudi Arabia, my understanding, Saudi Arabia was basically putting money into ISIS a couple years ago, a year ago, right? And we were trying to get Saudi Arabia to put money into the Free Syrian Army, but they chose ISIS for their own reasons. I don't particularly, understand Saudi politics.
Yeah.
But that's what they did. And they put far more money into these places than we do. So, I don't know. I mean, it would have been hard. I mean, I would like to think that, of course, I'd like to think that we could have done something, to stop not only ISIS, but that criminal Assad.
Yeah. I think what I get tired of, though, Michael, is like this constant parade of whether it's Mitt Romney or John McCain, particularly people that have been wrong in the past, that know exactly what outcome would have happened if only President Obama had done exactly this, or they had been president instead of him. And it's just, I think you're right. No,
that absolutely drives me crazy, too. And I think, for your listeners who are steamed at Clinton this week for seeming to sound like those guys, I would say that there were a couple important ways in which she sounded a little different from them. You're absolutely right that McCain and Lindsey Graham and that crew, they talk like they know exactly what would have happened if we'd done X. And at least Clinton didn't do that. At least she conceded that we can't say with any certainty what would have happened. And that's a difference. That's humility versus non-humility, and I think that's an important difference.
Well, and speaking of which, at least she had the humility in her book to say, I was wrong about Iraq.
Yeah.
I wasn't the only one, but I was wrong. I did the best I could with the information I was given, and I was wrong. So I think you're right. There's a difference in, having because again, the other thing is, this is tough stuff. This is complex stuff, and like you say, you almost understand people's instincts about not intervening. What's like listening to Rand Paul for 5 minutes? You go, he actually has some points there. I mean, because I think it all seems like such a mess. There are times when you feel like, does it matter what America does? Is it going to be? I mean, you look at Israel and the Palestinians. You're just like, oh my God, does it ever matter what we do or say?
Oh, in that case, I think if we cut that $3 billion back to $1.5 billion, I think it would matter.
Yeah, exactly. Michael, great stuff as always. Always a pleasure to talk to you.
Thanks very much.
All right, there he goes. I just like him.
He's good.
He's soft-spoken.
And a dry sense of humor.
Yes.
Exactly.
All right, 17 minutes after the hour, we roll along on the Stephanie Miller Show. Eric Bowler coming up at the bottom of the hour. Rick Overton live in studio, hour number 3, 1-800-STEPH-12, the phone number, toll free from anywhere. Alan in Texas, you're on the Stephanie Miller Show. Hey, Alan.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Couple of little statements I'd like to make. According to, I guess, McCain's visit to Syria, should we now call him, I don't want to be as tacky as Rush Limbaugh, should we call him Jane McCain or John Fonda?
Oh, I see.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes. He was, I wonder what Sarah Palin thinks about him palling around with terrorists.
That's right.
Could you imagine the outcry if Obama would have met with these these guys are the Secretary of State.
Yeah. No, and that's the other thing. You know, Alan, people don't point out enough that in terms of things that are unprecedented during this administration, how many times has John McCain gone to foreign soil to undermine this president's foreign policy? When will someone tell him you lost the election? Like, you know, by the way, Sarah Palin channel, that's another little snapshot into your judgment about. Okay, and I mean, doesn't that, like, I was just talking to Michael Tomasky, doesn't that sum it up about how, difficult this stuff in Syria is? Like, John McCain's like, oh, I'm absolutely positive these are moderates, the guys he's posing with. So he's still saying, oh, we should have armed them. Well, they're the guys that are ISIS. Okay, they were not moderates. That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying. Okay. Oh, by the way, CNN's Candy Crowley tried to explain why it is that John McCain is on her show so much.
Okay.
She said, because I keep saying why these people that were wrong continually invited on.
And I keep saying it's because he says yes. He's easy to book.
Well, she sort of alludes to that. Senator McCain, lots of people, when we have you on, often say, why do you have him on so often? And we say because he answers our questions, because he expresses his views quite clearly. Okay, he's quite clearly wrong.
Sure.
You might want to point that out when you're having him on again.
Barbara Boxer expresses her opinions just as clearly.
Right, and generally has been proven to be right about a lot.
Right.
The HuffPost writing, translation, McCain is good on TV, a reliable soundbite machine who will show up at the drop of a hat.
Yeah.
Well, again, is that something that makes shows better?
No.
Then again, will I ever be asked back?
Computer says no.
Probably no.
Because you're a loose cannon. They can't control you.
I have a feeling Carly Fiorina made a call from her cell phone in the car. All right, John Kerry on Iraq.
There will be no reintroduction of American combat forces into Iraq.
Oh, well, thank God.
They've said that unequivocally over and over again, so that's not going to happen.
Yeah, let's hope not. Chuck Hagel, Defense Secretary.
America is prepared to intensify its security cooperation as Iraq undertakes and makes progress toward political reform.
Okay, and Al Maliki.
What I am scared of is that al-Qaeda gangs, the Islamic State group, and insurgents might try to make use of the current tension.
And then he started singing, and I'm telling you I'm not going, from Dreamgirls.
I think Jennifer Hudson did a little better.
Right. Andy in Delaware, you're on the Stephanie Miller Show. Hello, Andy.
Yes, good morning, Steph.
Good morning.
I support the president's cautious, lack of intervention and support for these groups. And I support that by just look at our track record when it comes to picking and choosing so-called moderates, starting with, going back to the Mujahideen, all the way up to the president.
Right.
We really suck at this, at picking the winner.
Well, right. That's why I agree with the president that, that was a bit of a fantasy that this would have been, such a clean, clear-cut choice that would have worked out exactly the way we hoped, And again, I'm fine with you booking John McCain again, but just point out how he was wrong about which elements were moderate in Syria, right? Yep. All right. He'll take no further questions. That's it. Bob and it's over, everybody. Move along. Bob in Michigan, you're on the Stephanie Miller Show. Hi, Bob.
Hi, Steph. How are you?
Good. Go ahead.
Good. I just want to let you know that I think we should proceed with a lawsuit against McCain because by the Constitution, I'm not sure he's able to conduct foreign policy. So I think, in this environment, everybody should be suing everybody over the slightest little infraction.
Absolutely. We are all pro-frivolous lawsuits now, aren't we?
I am. I'm all for it.
All right. Thank you. Okay. By the way, still no word from Rand Paul's?
Nope.
From Rand Paul on Iraq? No position on that?
Nope.
He'll probably flip-flop from it, whatever it is anyway.
Oh, sure. He always does.
Because Rand Paul's your man.
Arizona State University.
Last night, 2 immigration activists confronted Republican from Kentucky, Senator Rand Paul.
Sometimes it's hard when you're a-running.
Now let's get to this Rand Paul clip.
Trying to be the president.
By now, you may have seen the video and the move by Rand Paul.
And if you know Pablo
leaving his burger and running away.
Pretty skedaddle.
If heaven 3 stands behind you, an exit door to run to. When Mexicans ask questions,
who takes one bite of a burger and leaves? What kind of American, I ask you? What did I say yesterday? What kind of real American leaves half their burger? Right. Yay! Rocky Mountain Mike, Marion, Ann Arbor. Hooray! Yep. All right, we should have you taken the ice bucket challenge yet?
No.
It's to raise money for Lou Gehrig's disease, and they've already raised millions. I tell you. You know who challenged the president to do it?
Who?
My friend Ethel Kennedy, who did it. She is the awesome with awesome sauce.
Yeah.
Whether she's kicking your ass at Bananagram or
throwing Bananagram tiles at your eye.
Right. Or dumping a bucket of ice over her head for charity. Awesome. 29 minutes after the hour. Eric Bowler next on the Stephanie Miller Show. It is the Stephanie Miller Show. Welcome to it. 34 minutes after the hour. 1-800-STEP-12, the phone number, toll free from anywhere. Rick Overton, a comedian extraordinaire, had some great stuff to say about his friend Ron Williams on TV last night. We will talk to him. He'll be live in studio in just coming up.
Live?
Exactly. All right. And right now, what? Eric Bowler from Media Matters.
But it's Wednesday.
Doing the Lord's work as usual. It's all cattywampus.
Eric Bowler. Eric Bowler.
Let's dive into the right-wing world. I don't know what that means. Eric Bowler from Media Matters, whom we love.
Bowler.
Good morning, Eric Bowler.
Hey, good morning.
Sometimes you do the Lord's work a little too well, in that Media Matters brought us the Rush Limbaugh sound clip.
Yeah.
Criticizing Robin Williams, whatever, tying his suicide to liberalness, which we almost could have predicted he would have done that, right?
Yeah, I mean, you knew someone was going to say something stupid and someone was going to try to politicize it and try to fit it into a narrative. And Limbaugh is as lazy and as hateful as they come. So, yeah, it's an attempt to. I think the larger frame is, Hollywood is liberal, Hollywood is evil. These people have no moral compass.
Yeah, and who better than Rush Limbaugh to judge that sort of thing? Yeah.
Yeah.
look at what they do to themselves. Look at what they want to do to America. So yeah, not surprising. Even as someone as beloved as Robin Williams and someone whose death was as upsetting and as his.
I guess
is considered fair play.
I guess he is irony deficient, as some of our friends on the right can be, about the fact that he is a multiple married drug addict.
Yeah.
I mean,
Rush, the morality leader.
Yeah. I mean, it really is. You just think, really, is he really going to talk about substance issues or unhappiness or I mean, I don't know, but you're right. It's just he has no shame. And by the way, you tweeted more bad news for Limbaugh. Kicked off longtime Clear Channel home in Pittsburgh, moved to basement AM station. You know what's interesting? We had a conservative caller, right, Chris, in the first hour, saying he listens to Rush, but he said he thought that was awful, and he said he probably needs to retire. I thought,
interesting.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, we're seeing more. I mean, we've talked about the minutia of talk radio business, and Clear Channel is doing this more and more places. Obviously, they did it in L.A., they did it in San Francisco. Mm-hmm. They took their entire right-wing roster off strong signal stations and basically sent him to the end of the dial. In Pittsburgh, he's going to 1320. I think it's an unrated station.
Wow.
So, Rush Limbaugh, here's your new home. It's like, he's in the closet under the sewer pipes.
Yeah.
And Glenn Beck and the whole lineup, they have disappeared basically from the 25th largest radio market in America.
And as we've talked about, they shove them on the stations that all the stations we used to be on, and they used to say, "See, liberal shows can't make it."
And then, right, they say.
And then they have the same or worse ratings than we had on those same stations, right?
And they say, "Oh, liberal radio can't work," and they give you a signal that covers 14 miles. But right now the right wing lineup is getting them, and they're going to fail just as miserably, which raises some interesting questions.
And not to make this all about
Stephanie Miller,
right. But when I was on the big signal station, I have probably double the ratings that station has now. So I mean, it's trust me, of particular. We've had this conversation over and over, but I think here's the thing that I wonder in the long term, though, Eric, is, and again, I've tried to say this, that boycotts have hurt all of us in talk radio. It doesn't really hurt Rush. He has a contract, for $50 million a year.
It's above it all, yeah.
Right. But I have to say, I don't know how long that can last. I don't know how long they can continue to pay him much money.
It's got to come, it comes up for renewal eventually. And that then becomes the huge question of what Clear Channel, if Clear Channel still exists at that point, what do they do? Look, I mean, it reminds me of Rupert paying $3 billion for the Wall Street Journal when no one else wanted to pay $500 million for it. When Clear Channel paid, signed Limbaugh for his contract in 2009. I mean, just clearly one of the most stupendously awful media business decisions ever.
Wow, the only good news is Rupert Murdoch has backed out of buying Time Warner, huh?
Yeah. So there is some good news on that front, yeah.
A little silver lining.
A little. In a week with not many.
Yeah.
Yeah. I loved your tweet. You said it's funny how every summer turns out to be the summer Obama definitely should not be taking a vacation.
Dana Milbank, dipped into this right-wing pool. Oh, Obama's tone deaf for going on vacation. And so I just, Google is a godsend. So I just did a quick search, and there they were from 2009. There they were from 2010. There they were from 2011.
Yeah.
Every summer there's some sort of collection of not just the right-wing crazies, but, the mainstream press either agreeing that, this looks bad for Obama to go on vacation, or just sort of regurgitating the claims.
We said this yesterday.
And as I pointed out, Ronald Reagan spent 5 weeks in the hills of California. George Bush spent 5 weeks in Texas. George Bush spent over 900 days away from the White House, either Camp David, at the ranch, or on vacation. I think the current tally for Obama is somewhere, his vacation days is somewhere around 109, 110.
Right. Well, I mean, as we were saying, no matter what it is, vacation days, executive orders, the media story, they never make any sense because they will always.
Yeah. He's not. He does not have approval to use any of the mechanisms that any other president has ever used. And look, and this went back to the Clinton thing as well. The Clintons didn't own a vacation home. The Obamas don't own a vacation home. So apparently, if you're a Republican and you own a second home, it's much better that way.
You're more a man of the people, right?
Yeah. And so if you just go there and lounge for 5 weeks, it's much more. It just seems better. But if you don't actually own that second home and you have to go on vacation like most Americans do, there's something awful about it. And Ronald Reagan, people totally forget. He didn't really own his vacation home. A bunch of donors bought it for him.
Right. And I love the presumption that,
he was president. They bought him a home. Totally fine.
I was going to say, and I love the, the presumption that the president's vacation is like the rest of ours, like he's in a rowboat without a cell phone or anything.
Yeah.
He's not actually on vacation. I mean, he's still president and making decisions and in the loop. I mean, it's just.
Yeah, no, but again, from day one, there's a different rule for Democrats. Clinton's had to hear the same catcalls for 8 years. But look, that's our liberal media at work.
Yep. You said you tweeted also the press says she failed her book tour poll. Hillary easily beats Christie in New Jersey. And I didn't see that anywhere except right there on your tweet.
We don't even have enough time for the Hillary stuff. I mean, whatever. I mean, and right. So this week there's the Atlantic interview. She distances herself from Barack Obama on some foreign policy issue. So, have a debate. That's great. Let's talk foreign policy. But what is the thing with Hillary is everything she does is awful news, right? So every pundit this week has signed off on her foreign policy views are a disaster. It's calculating. It's awful. And so everything she does is bad news. Her gaffes were awful. She stumbled her way through a book tour. Oh, but by the way, she has like a 13-point lead in Florida. By the way, she beats, Governor Christie by 10 points in New Jersey. By the way, if you look at any sort of electoral map right now, she's probably, hypothetically, we're a long way away. She's basically on the same road to repeating Obama. Not 2012. 2008, where she wins Florida, she wins North Carolina, she wins almost 370 electoral votes, but she's having an awful summer.
Right, and meanwhile, Christie's back in the game. That's the storyline. As you say, Rutgers polling, Governor Christie's New Jersey approval rating has dropped 22 points in 18 months.
Right.
You say, who doesn't run for the White House with that kind of record? I mean, he could.
Rick Perry is a great candidate. Rick Perry is back. He's looking great in Iowa. I tweeted yesterday, Hillary won 1,900 delegates in 2008. The conventional wisdom is she's just an awful retail candidate. Rick Perry, who did not win a single delegate in 2012, conventional wisdom, great retail candidate.
Yeah.
You can't have it both ways.
Yeah.
You can't have the person who got 18 million votes is an awful candidate, and the person who got like 9,000 votes is just like a stellar candidate who lights up the campaign trail.
Yeah.
It's going to be an awful.
Eric, it's become the meme on the thanks Obama, right? But you really think oh, really? Are they going to blame Obama for this? And as you tweeted, awful people. Fox host blames Obama for U.S. Major General's death in Afghanistan.
Wow.
I mean, there is nothing. They cannot somehow make his fault.
It's interesting. Yesterday there was this blow up where the nut job Keith Abloh said Michelle Obama should lose a few pounds.
Right.
Wants to talk to nutrition.
Right. We played that.
Actually did trip the invisible decency line at Fox News, mostly because he said it on a show hosted by four women who went epileptic on him.
Yeah, they were horrified.
Yeah.
Were completely horrified. So I guess the good news is there is a boundary. But
it just exactly. And I was saying, it's hard to compare to the bikini bodies of Laura Bush or Barbara Bush or whatever. I mean, really, it's just that this is so ridiculous.
Ridiculous.
Yeah.
But I guess the good news is there is a nearly invisible line of decency. But suggesting that Obama is to blame for the death of the general of Afghanistan, that didn't produce any outrage. So there you have it.
Yeah, exactly. Eric, great stuff as always. Thanks for circling back with us on Wednesday. All right.
That's the week.
All right. Thank you. You too. Ooh, that's the longest. He's less distant with me on Wednesdays.
I know.
All right.
What is it about Mondays?
46 minutes after the hour. He's got a case of the Mondays.
Oh.
All right. I think I see a car. It might be the Rick Overton.
I think I heard a gate close, and I think I heard Travis mumbling out there. So, yes.
All right. Live in studio next on the Stephanie Miller Show. Its father is here. 1-800-STEP-1, the phone number. Comedian extraordinaire, Rick Overton, live in studio. Hi, honey. It was your microphone, sorry. It was the Insider.
Hi, honey.
It was the Insider I saw you on last night. That's right. I wasn't sure I was dialing around. Robin Williams was your friend. You worked with him. I remember many times you'd say, I'm going up to, to brainstorm with Robin. And
It was like playing jazz music without instruments.
Yeah.
It was riffing with the greatest riffer of all. And I would do a regular show, and then after that he would come up and we would do another hour and a half. We had a lot of fun shows at the Throckmorton up in Mill Valley. Guys, go out and check out the Throckmorton. It's a brilliant theater space in Mill Valley. And that was Robin and my favorite place to riff after, the show. It would just keep going, one whole other show, and people would stay. It was fun.
Yeah. Well, Rick, I know you were saying that obviously in a lot of those kind of interviews they cut stuff out, and you were saying that you felt like they cut out some of the point you were trying to make. And what was it?
I was trying to make the point about, that there's an emotional connection to surgery, heart surgery, that is the heart regulates mood and one's part of one's capacity to self-preserve. And when he came back, he was different. And I'm now researching lots of people come back emotionally completely different components to themselves after heart surgery.
Yeah, Kathleen Madigan mentioned this yesterday.
Yeah.
And how long ago was it, Rick, the heart surgery?
Oh, it was 09, right? It was 09.
I think it was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But as his friend, someone that knew him, you just felt like he was different after, and that's obviously clinically proven. That they say that heart surgery can cause depression.
Yeah, and 30% go suicidal.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think we're medically addressing this well enough. This shouldn't have happened. This should have been figured out in advance and goes, I recognize these traits, and here's the thing you do about that.
Right.
How in 2014 have we missed that? We're breaking through everything and every other wall, and not this. This is one of our common surgeries now for modern people is heart surgery, and we don't address the emotional component that leads to suicide like that, because he did change afterwards.
And why does Dick Cheney seem so happy and so chatty about Iraq and others?
Well, and also people like David Letterman. He famously went through open heart surgery, and he seemed, when he came back, he seemed much better than ever.
Yeah, well, I mean, again, I suppose there's not one different experience.
He drinks from the bowl of souls. And, screaming people going down like some horrible painting.
I mean, like you say, it's hard to sort of brush with one broad brush. I saved this for you because I said, oh boy, I knew this was going to happen. All these articles on comedians, right? And is there? I love this. Oxford did a study looking at psychotic traits among comedians.
Yeah.
They found that comedians tend to have what the author called a conflicted profile, a combination of introverted, depressive traits, and on one hand and on the other, the complete opposite, extroverted, impulsive, manic traits. Or in other words, being human is.
Yeah, right.
Is this? I mean,
you know what I am? I'm tripolar. I'm either very happy or very sad or somewhere in between.
That's like most humans.
Yeah, thank you.
I mean, but Rick, in your opinion, because obviously I was saying, I believe the statistic is 34,000 people kill themselves a year in the United States. Again, the famous ones are the ones we hear about, whether it's Chris Farley or Robin Williams or excuse me, he didn't kill himself, but you know what I'm saying. Whether it's substance abuse or stuff like that. Where do you come down on this whole like psychoanalysis of all comedians? I mean, Kathleen Madigan talked about this. She goes, no, I'm not angry. I'm not depressed. Not all comedians are,
Hey, sad clown laughing on the outside clown,
That's right.
on the inside clown. Here's your archetype outfit.
Right.
Go zip up your funny archetype suit.
Right.
I know you must have had a torturous childhood to come out.
No, I've often said that. I'm like, I had a good childhood. I'm not angry.
All right.
I feel
I like funny people. I was laughing when my dad laughed. I wanted his approval. I went for it.
I feel like I'm funnier when I'm happier. I don't know about you. I mean, again, I think comedians, like most human beings, everybody's different, right?
Yeah. And there's a few things that are the same, especially when it comes to why we got into comedy. Then it kind of narrows into we all wanted the way it feels to get that Trader Joe's anonymous, faceless vote scoop of approval dumped over our heads,
Yeah.
That's it.
Yes. It's like Carlos El Rocky, who tours with us, says that, he has kids, and he's like, Daddy has to go because he needs the approval of strangers. As much as he loves you, Daddy must go now.
Yeah.
But Daddy will be back. I gotta read more of this to you. Okay, let's see. So the Oxford doctor said, so this does give substance to the idea of the sad clown. Hang on. Getting to it. Let's see. Blah, 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 blah. Let's see. Adding that for some comedians, performance can be a front or a form of self-medication for underlying depression, shyness, or insecurity. He said, sadly, Robin Williams was a prime example of that conclusion, a man with underlying insecurity and depression who covered it with comedy. You were his friend. What do you think? I mean, where his comedy came from?
I think some element of the analysis is evident and true that he was he had highs and lows and had some bipolar tendencies, but I know lots of bipolar people that would not have drawn that final conclusion.
Right.
And we're a clown car of bipolars here in this town. You know,
Hollywood,
people, with the way you get a promise broken and all your dreams go high, low, dump, raise, dump, raise. They can make, that's the bipolarity of it, and someone just starts acting like that, you got one. And so I think now in the analysis of all of that, if you can tally it like a number and a sum total, it adds the numbers now of the surgery that takes anything that would have been a 6, and with these goggles, it looks like a 10.
We talked about that in the first hour, Rick, is the story about, that obviously a lot of friends of his have said he was really depressed about the cancellation of the
crazy ones.
Right, and how huge that was to him, and you think, all the rest of us, you think, nobody probably even knew or cared, he had such an amazing career, but to him, it obviously felt huge, right? It felt humiliating. And
well, it's everything. It's a show about you, and then they start adding more other people for younger demographics around you, and what does that say to your psyche? And put on top of that, he's not seeing any of this through the eyes we remember from that guy we started out with.
Somebody
the new
said,
goggles go on with the heart surgery.
Yeah, somebody said, I wish he could see what happens the day after, and to know how beloved he is. 58 minutes after the hour, more Rick Overton live in studio on the Stephanie Miller Show. Walking on slightly less sunshine this week, actually, but Rick Overton making it better. That's right. Comedian extraordinaire live in studio with us, friend of Robin Williams. And I'd asked you saw him, last time was like 3 or 4 months ago, you said.
Yeah, with Throckmorton. 142 Throckmorton in Mill Valley. It's a place where brilliance occurs. Guys, if you're anywhere nearby, go check it out. And Mark Pitta and Friends on Tuesdays.
Awesome. Anyway, but... You were saying, I was saying I'd seen a picture of him last month, I think, and he looked frail for Robin Williams, because we were saying the guy was, he was in shape. He was. You were saying that's why you watched Fisher King.
I watched the Fisher King last night, and he has that famous scene where he's running around naked in Central Park, and he was built like a bulldog.
Right. I remember the review to that movie. The reviewer said, Robin Williams, who is so furry he could be hunted for his pelt at this point.
Yes.
I was like, well, that was gratuitous.
Scottish fur.
But anyway. But he was a bicyclist, and but you were also saying, Rick, you've been talking a lot about the effect of his heart surgery, and you said that brings on not just depression, but he looked older and more frail than I remember him.
It's a heart with tons of new things in it, and as we know, that doesn't always hold perfectly.
Right.
And so I think a lot of this will be traceable to things we're failing, and it also affects your thinking.
Yeah.
It just changes the hormonal compound of where the serotonin goes and where the dopamine goes, and he was changing. I was seeing him change.
Yeah. Well, and you would say something about, a dimmer. When you're dining room lights on a dimmer,
his spirit was dimming.
Yeah.
And has to be the result of the way the blood was flowing or something. There has to be a mechanical component to this. That decision to do that was so acharacteristic of him. It's so unlike him to do that, that I can't assume it was him anymore.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's nothing that would have led him in a rational, normal Robin Williams state of mind to do that.
Right.
And I'm looking at what would change things like that. Heart surgery sometimes does.
Right. I mean, he obviously... it's been reported that he was seeking help for depression, and I know that he obviously has talked very openly about substance abuse. Had he talked about depression before recent? I mean, do you feel like that was a lifelong struggle, or do you feel like it is only been after the heart surgery?
It existed before the heart surgery. It was exponentialized, not just exacerbated, but exponentialized by the heart surgery. Right. Increasing tenfold what everything would appear like.
Yeah. I mean, we talked about this with Kathleen a little bit yesterday, that, because I think it's an important discussion to have, because so many people are touched by if 34,000 people, for instance, commit suicide a year, that's a lot of people, a lot of families. That how many people are affected by substance abuse? How many people are affected by depression? It's a huge, conversation. We were saying you don't know exactly in his case the combination of depression and or substance abuse. I mean, his heart. People were saying he was very open about his cocaine use. You don't know if it was a genetic heart thing, if it was caused by that, but the whole. I mean, I just think that.
No, I think the way drugs may have led to it is that he, at one point, put his heart in a place where it needed the repair work by running it faster than a normal heart should run in your day. On the things he did back in the early 80s.
Right.
And 70s. And then that damage just had to be repaired, and having repaired it, a reinstalled heart sometimes doesn't bring with it the capacity to regulate one's own self-preservation mechanism.
You have a friend emailed.
Yes.
Yes.
Sean posted, I imagine Robin Williams' entrance into heaven is being delayed by his riffing on St. Peter, and Lauren Bacall in line behind him is having none of it and asking if she can enter through the VIP entrance. Wow. That's very funny. I told my friend Sean that he wins the internet for that post.
You win the internet today. We can shut them down now.
Yeah.
Oh, Bacall. Wow.
Yeah. Lauren, you knew that, right?
I saw that,
Yeah.
Jeez.
Alan writes, greetings from Janesville, Wisconsin. Want to thank you for the way you're dealing with Mr. Williams' disease, suicide with great sensitivity and much needed humor. Chris, you especially have been showing great insight and sensitivity for someone not suffering from it.
Yeah.
But as you've said, you have.
I have. Yes, I have. You know, it's not nearly as debilitating now as it was probably in the late 90s, early 2000s. I was working with you at the time, and there were some days.
What could be the common thread?
Well, no, it wasn't situational. You know, it was caused by a mess up in my
Right.
brain chemistry, and there were some days where it was all I could do to pull myself out of bed and come to work.
Yeah.
You never knew that.
Yeah. No, I didn't. You've told me since then. Yeah. Was I bitch? Was I part of it?
You were not a part of it. It was just my brain chemistry, my makeup. I couldn't. And but what's frustrating is that people who suffer from depression can't pinpoint what's causing it.
Right.
And that's really frustrating.
Right. I was just talking to him about stuff I'm sad about today, and you said, but that's situational.
Yeah, that's all situational. You can point to it.
Right, and that's a big difference. Just general sadness or something that is based. Because you said people with true depression, they can't tell you why.
No.
Because people look at Robin Williams and go, oh my God, what?
Yeah, and
why?
When people say, oh, just go out with some friends and you'll feel better. No, that makes it worse because you're around people.
Yeah.
You just want to hole up and just do nothing.
And by the way, you signed up to work with me again.
Yeah.
So either your self-esteem is really, or I'm not that bad.
And so, I felt sad and I felt depression. I know that there's a difference.
Yeah.
And so, so it's bad.
I feel like if you're sad long enough, though, the chemistry can change that you do get depressed. I've been through a couple of periods like that. Here's the other thing, Chris. You were saying you took antidepressants and they really helped you. And I have a friend that said it saved my life after she had postpartum. Yeah. But there's a lot of dissension about that as well. I mean, I have a friend that killed herself after she went off Paxil. I've gotten a ton of letters yesterday from people who went on an antidepressant.
It's kind of a crapshoot.
They even
have
warn
friends that
you.
went on them and killed themselves.
They warn you in the commercial, and they say the words of what it could do.
Yeah.
And that if you're feeling suicidal, call your doctor, assuming that that's your immediate conclusion when you're feeling suicidal.
Yeah. Right.
That seems a little bit, not thorough. Medically speaking, to say, call your doctor if you're feeling like not talking to anyone.
Yeah.
Yes, yeah. No, well, I mean, any of those commercials, it's just basically, do you ever feel slightly sad or this? Or, yes, I'm human. It's like everything they list in there. It's like, yes.
What is
Am I ever slightly anxious? Yes.
Well, you know what? I'm going to let my legs stay restless. This is what made Elvis famous.
Well, when you go on medications, there can be some side effects that the doctors have never heard of. When I went on SSRIs, which is Paxil and that class of drugs, I would clench my jaw so tight at night that I felt like my teeth were going to break. And I'm like, okay, I can't have this. So I went on another class of drugs, Surzone. But it turns out that was causing major liver damage. And I'm like, okay, I'm just going to wean myself off of it. And by that time, I think the drugs had rearranged my brain chemistry, and I was fine. Mm-hmm. So, but yeah.
Well, and obviously
you don't want to mess.
Toxicology reports are pending. We won't know, but you have to wonder that too. If he was seeking help for depression, was he on something that then mixed with alcohol, perhaps, or whatever? That's why that stuff is scary to me.
Those, antidepressants invert a lot. I've never heard of something remaining legal that killed so many people in my whole life.
Yeah. Well, wasn't there lawsuits? I think wasn't it specifically Paxil? But there was a few families.
We need to be careful about.
Well, no, I know. I'm saying I don't know.
Okay.
I'm asking.
Yeah.
But I can't remember. There was a specific drug that I thought there was a class action lawsuit, but yeah, and I because again, who knows? I mean, and I think that was based on a lot of people that went off of it, killed themselves. So I don't know.
Yeah.
Interesting. So this is, we're going to have all these articles, and I was telling you this one, they're asking about comedians in general. One psychologist cautioning she could not speak specifically about Williams. I'm glad they're saying that. A lot of them are like, okay, well, I didn't know him or treat him, but she said the rate of suicide in patients with bipolar disorder and also in severe depression is high, and it's one of the reasons, many reasons for getting treatment. She says, this psychologist actually says she nearly killed herself in a suicide attempt after going off her medication for bipolar disorder. She said she certainly understands the dangers of untreated mood disorders. She said, in fact, some 75 to 80% of people who kill themselves have suffered from a mood disorder. So it's just... I think that's what everybody's doing now.
It's
like which
chemistry,
piece of the puzzle?
whether your body made the chemical or the pharmaceutical place made the chemical. It is not the original man that we love through all those comedy specials and all those movies. That guy didn't make this conclusion. Something broke in there, and it wasn't that guy by now.
Yeah.
He was moral and good and cared about and loved everybody.
Yeah.
And he loved his kids, he loved his family, and would not have been his decision in that frame of mind.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and we were saying, from the parade we played Rush Limbaugh politicizing it and making it about, politics, and Shep Smith saying he was a coward, although he apologized. I mean, it's just, but it's like, it's just all the people rushing to judge. We just found out this morning his daughter, Zelda, has gotten off social media because of abuse that she got about her father's death. And you just, what? We ask this question over and over. Are we gotten worse, or has social media just made it worse? What kind of human beings do that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that this is a teachable moment for our species.
Yeah.
And I think one of the things we have to learn is how to treat heart surgery emotionally afterwards on a much more advanced level than we're doing now. This is an inexcusable slip in the science of it. And I think people who are posting all those mean things, they got to have a good look. They're going to get enough responses to those mean things. This is also, social media is how you find out if you're an a-hole, how much of one you are by consensus.
Exactly. One last thing in here. The psychologist said that Williams was fighting addiction at age 63, put him at even higher risk. White males overall have the highest risk of suicide and the 10th leading cause of death in the U.S., and that risk rises with age. She said, what I'm reminded of is our friend Richard Jeni, who I just, same thing to me. I mean, he just was always so kind to me. It's just such and brilliant. But
it's brain chemistry, I'm sure, once again. And I'm sure a toxicology report would show something altered that.
Yeah.
And, I just have a philosophy about it. I don't believe in the idea of offing yourself. I can't imagine doing it. I want to see how this all turns out.
Yeah.
And I don't care at what shape I am. I'm going to be like Stephen Hawking, and I'm going to kick your ass with the last thing that still moves. Come here. I'll poke you. I will poke you hard.
18 minutes after the hour, we roll along. Rick Overton live in studio on the Stephanie Miller Show. It is the Stephanie Miller Show. Welcome to it. 23 minutes after the hour, 1-800-STEPH12, the phone number, toll free from anywhere. Comedian extraordinaire, Rick Overton live in studio. I do want you to know it is my job to cry on the show. I am known as the chick that cries on the radio because I'm sorry. Robin was your friend and you teared up a little bit during the break because I was saying, I don't think I've ever gotten this much mail about people being hit so hard, and clearly not people that knew him, but you were his friend and spent a lot of time with him, and it's just, it really is one of those.
I had no time to prepare emotionally for that news.
Yeah.
There's no prep time.
Yeah. I mean, plus it's, again, he was so open about struggles with substance abuse and all that, but it still is a shock, and I guess the way it happened is a shock, isn't it?
Yeah, I'm not sure we should necessarily associate the abuse of drugs with what happened here now.
Right.
It may not be connected now.
Right. No, I'm talking about people's reaction.
When he would be so forthcoming all through his life.
Yeah, what I'm saying is there's just no way to, it's always a shock. I mean, I was saying how I heard it was somebody broke into I was listening to the radio and they said there's an unconfirmed report and there's that moment of people hoping it's, because you said there was something you heard.
On 13, there was a rumor that he had died on a movie set. And I had, no, wait, I'm not, check it out,
Right. Yeah, and it turned out, that it was incorrect, yeah.
Right, rumor.
Our friend Jamie Masada, who I know, who you know, obviously. I don't know if you know, but I answered the phone at the Laugh Factory.
And you changed the letters on the marquee.
Yes, and I changed the letters of the comedians on the marquee with a giant pole, right? Right. I cursed Paul Rodriguez many times for having too many letters in his name, many of which struck me in the face as I. But yeah, and but anyway, so I worked for Jamie. I worked up in the attic up there, answering the phone, and. But yeah, he was saying he's genuinely one of those guys, such high energy, we would never figure out anything. He never let anybody inside to know what was going on. They don't want to talk about their problems. They always want to make people laugh. He was saying he knew him for many years, but he felt like he didn't really know him. Did you feel like that?
No, I knew him a little better than that.
Yeah.
We'd talk about little things in life and philosophy and where we think it's all headed and stuff,
Yeah.
Politics.
Yeah. I love the president's statement. He said Robin Williams was an airman, a doctor, a genie, a nanny, a president, a professor, a bangarang, Peter Pan, and everything in between. But he was one of a kind. He arrived into our lives as an alien, but he ended up touching every element of the human spirit. He made us laugh. He made us cry. He gave his immeasurable talent freely and generously to those who needed it most, from our troops stationed abroad to the marginalized on our own streets. What was the one tweet that killed me? It's the picture of him in Aladdin. And it says, "You're free, genie."
Yeah, that was put out by Walt Disney Corporation.
Right. Yeah. Let's go to Gwen in New Mexico. You're on with Rick.
Hello, Stephanie, and you always give me a good laugh every day.
And today's show has been a laugh riot, hasn't it?
You still have ways of looking at things, even when it's really bad, that can make a person smile. So
thank you.
The one thing I wanted to share was that my mother, when I was a young, used to say to me that people who are mean-spirited and say mean things, they either don't feel good or they don't feel good about themselves. And I think about Rush Limbaugh, and that man, to me, with his weight, either doesn't feel good or he doesn't feel good about himself. No one can come out with that kind of talk.
Well, I mean, and for somebody that's, excuse me, but, again, himself married multiple times and had substance issues, to be judging anybody else, I mean, that's the thing. It's just, the thing that just galls me. It's like irony deficient, I guess.
He's just like a skeet shooter that sits in a blind waiting for something good to launch in the air.
Yeah.
And anything good he turns and shoots at. It's his job, hitting all good things.
Yeah. Cindy in Ohio, you're on the Stephanie Miller Show with Rick. Hello, Cindy.
Hi, I wanted to point up a more positive aspect of Hillary's comments. It's one of the most endearing things about the Democratic Party is that they are their own people, and they're open to dialogue, as opposed to the Republican Party, which is almost like a one-party Soviet system, it seems that they want, like with the Politburo or the Presidium calling all the shots. And I think that it's a healthy thing. It's not really as dire as they're making it out to be.
Yeah. No, well, I mean, I think Eric Boehlert made that point, and they're going to keep doing that. They're going to keep trying to say, oh, the Democrats are in disarray and they're in civil war, and meanwhile the Republicans are. What is happening?
They're in disarray too. Yeah. You have to hire people to go to their rallies. You don't have to hire people to go to our rallies. What does it mean when you have to pay people to smile?
Exactly. Hey, here's some happy news. Donald Sterling no longer owns the Los Angeles Clippers. Steve Ballmer just bought $2 billion.
That's right.
The Clippers and went through yesterday.
Well, look, he's got the rest of his life to enjoy it.
Donald Sterling?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's. But at least that's it's a sliver of because he seems like an awful person. And the fact that you go money always wins, in this case, I mean. Well, Steve Ballmer's money won. Let's just say that.
His date, his sweethearts, like sitting next to him in the restaurant going, let it be tonight. Tonight.
29 minutes
Have
after
another
the hour.
pork chop, honey.
More Rick Overton live in studio. The Stephanie Miller Show. Welcome to it. 34 minutes after the hour. 1-800-STEP-1-2, the phone number. Toll free from anywhere. The Twitterverse all abuzz with the love of the Rick Overton. Comedian extraordinaire, live in studio with us, a friend of Robin Williams. And, yeah, you were saying it is interesting. That's the thing I love about radio is you have a little more time, obviously, to have a real discussion, because you were saying you were on The Insider last night, but, you know, that's what they do. They clip stuff and take sound bites. And
Yeah, thank you for letting me voice out the rest of what I was trying to make about the point.
Absolutely.
And,
yeah.
But you said
Thank you for coming in. Thank you.
Yeah.
No, I mean, and your stuff has been just so insightful and heartfelt, because I think, and you said, oh, it doesn't seem like I'm trying to whatever about my friend, right? And I think people...
I put a whole other segment into that.
Right.
I appreciate them using some of the nice things I said about him, you know,
Right.
but I would have liked to have that medical point put in about heart reinstallation. 30% people go after a heart rebuild and reinstall, they go suicidal.
Right. Right. Yeah, and that is something I don't think I've heard a lot of people talking about.
That's the thing
yeah.
you got to make, because if enough people talk about it, the cure will come along for it.
Right. Right. All right. 1-800-STEP-1-2, the phone number, toll free from anywhere. On to you can't help it. There's dark comedy in times of darkness. At least we're not this guy. Man dies after vibrator gets stuck in his rectum. Oh, now that is that's a tough eulogy to do. That is a little bit of a Chuckles the Clown funeral.
Yeah, you hear this buzzing noise. Everyone checks their waist and like, no, and they all look at the coffin.
Your phone?
God.
Your phone? No.
Oh.
No. See, darkly funny. 50-year-old British man died earlier this year after a vibrator became stuck in his bum. He was unemployed and lived with his mother. I'm just saying, if you're feeling particularly bad about yourself today...
How old is he?
He was 50. He, after the sex toy got stuck inside him for 5 days, which, wow. He was unable to move from his couch during that time. He only sought assistance after a friend learned of the problem and begged him to get help. To be a fly on the wall for that conversation is all I'm saying. I'm sorry, man. You've got a what? Stuck up your where?
I'm sure there were a lot of flies on the wall, I'm sure. It sounds like a scene from Seven.
You know, dude, I'm not a doctor.
That's so sick. That's my first big laugh after the whole thing.
It's the lesson.
That was my first big laugh.
Yeah.
Oh my
All
God.
right. See? We can laugh again.
Yay!
Dude, I'm not a doctor, but I totally would call one right now if...
Oh my
I mean,
God.
it wasn't like that. Like, what? Dude, what's that sound? What sound? Well, I'm not really certain, but it could be the vibrator I have stuck up my...
And he lived with his mom, and he was 50? Oh.
See? Just when you feel bad about
Mom!
yourself. Mom, don't come down here!
Would you like some more spam? I've got enough spam. I'm a spam bomb, Mom. I've got to blow. Get out.
All right. I do feel bad. Oh, by the way, Aaron Sorkin had some thoughts about, we were saying people bullying Robin Williams' daughter on social media.
Yeah, guys, lay off Zelda Williams, for Christ's sakes. What are you doing, man? What you said is on record forever. And when your head clears and you realize what you committed to print, you're going to have to hide. You're going to have to leave the country.
Yeah.
Because people, you don't know what box you just opened.
Yeah.
Yeah. My friend Howie posted this quote from Aaron Sorkin from The Social Network. You write your snide bull from a dark room because that's what the angry do nowadays.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, man. And just like every politician who forgets he said something on video, and then we just go onto YouTube and get it, and can prove he's lying, this will haunt you forever.
Yeah.
You gotta enter a charity to make up for this.
That's what, and again, we talk about like the good or bad side of technology and social media and everybody having a gadget so they never have an unexpressed thought. Some things you ought to take a minute before you actually say or write, right?
Yeah. You know what? Every stupid thing that's posted on Facebook on any of my posts, I just go, look what you just did to yourself. We just photocopy the page. Boom. And now what?
Yeah.
You can't delete it. We have it now.
Yeah.
We can quote you forever for being stupid.
Oh, speaking of kids and gadgets, that's my point. Teen tries to drain entire pond to get his iPhone back. An unnamed 16-year-old was on a fishing trip when he accidentally dropped his iPhone overboard in a fishing pond in Germany. He was with other members of a fishing club and was not allowed by fellow fishermen to dive into the pond, so he returned hours later with an idea to drain the pond, use a pump and 2 water hoses to direct the water into a nearby toilet. It did not work.
The phone is ruined by the time it hits the water.
Oh, this is what he said. I knew the phone was probably dead, but I wanted to get the data card back with numbers, pictures, videos of my friends. Or what could he have used, Chris?
Carbonite.
And type Stephanie in the box.
That's right.
And all of this would not have been necessary. Thank you. That is the moral of that story.
We should have a go-to-meeting with him and let him know this.
Yeah, German, everything is
How would you get
engineering
to type Stephanie in the box? Yes.
I'm sorry, I didn't
go ahead.
I didn't know the timing on that.
No, sorry. Go ahead, Rick. Go ahead. What were you saying?
I was saying, we are German, everything is in engineering terms. What have you done, engineer? I have dropped my phone in the lake. Yeah, we will build a dam. No, a canal. We need to put the water somewhere. Don't we know our physics?
Oh, kids. Oh, by the way, this is why we don't have them, and this story. Texas mom tossed out of a restaurant for changing her baby's diaper at the table.
Check, please. Check, please. We'll be right back after this.
Oh, God, no.
Who thinks that is good? Only a parent thinks that's a good. Oh, I'll just do it here.
I have my
no one will
rights.
notice.
No, the Constitution says that I can change my baby's diaper wherever I do so choose.
It's America. You don't like to smell my baby's.
Yeah. In the story, she said, well, there wasn't a changing table in the bathroom.
Right.
That's what the trunk of your car is for,
I
madam.
think I'm going to bath.
Yeah.
Oh, God.
Okay. Lois in Louisiana, you're on the Stephanie Miller Show. Hi, Lois.
Hi, Stephanie Miller.
Hi.
Hi, Mook.
Hey, Lois.
Hey. Anyway, Stephanie, you know I love your show, and I call in quite often. I only call in when I get kind of upset. You know, for all this time, we appreciate Robin Williams because he made everybody happy.
Yeah.
He made everybody laugh, and they just love Robin Williams.
Yeah.
Now, Robin Williams finally did something for himself that made him happy and made him laugh, even though he took his own life the way he did. So why are we turning against him for doing something for himself when all these years he did something for us? And I'm very upset because whatever way he did, he's in a better place now.
Well,
I
think the old saying, judge not, lest you be judged, is the best.
Just start with that.
Yeah.
Start with not being angry at someone who's going through something that is based on a malfunction somewhere. And you can't blame something that's broken.
Right.
And a piece broke because of a physical thing that occurred. And you can trace it like an engineering plan form. And rather than give it the emotional exponent of he consciously decided to betray his family and his kids and do all this hurtful things, it wasn't him. It was not him.
Yeah.
By the time that decision had occurred, it was no longer the guy from the other memories we have.
And Rick, we've talked about this, and again, it's hard, particularly I think for people like you that were friends and knew him. It is human nature to speculate about everything, and people have. I mean, you hear it everywhere, and I think, Chris, you were saying that, when they gave the whole description of that his wife saw him at 10:30 and went to another room, and so then people were like, what did they always sleep in separate rooms? Did they have a fight? But again, it's like, it's not really our business. It's you know what I mean? That's the part that there, when you talk about celebrities, that there isn't that wall of privacy because everyone wants to know. They're like, well, why?
Let's tally it. Let's say he had money problems. He's had money problems before.
Yeah.
And endured it. Let's say he's got a marital spat. Ooh, he's had that before and lived through it.
Yes.
So mathematically, just in physics terms, what's the changed element? His decision-making process around it. That got changed because of these other events.
Yeah.
Those of us who are hanging out with him, we're watching it go to the other place.
Right.
After the surgery, since 2009.
Yeah. Brian in Michigan, you're on the Stephanie Miller Show with Rick. Hello, Brian.
Hey, good morning, Steph.
Good morning.
Rick, I hear my sympathies. I mean, I sound like you're pretty close to Robin, and we're all kind of hurt by it, but I'm sure it's rougher for people who knew him directly, and so I'm very sympathetic with that. And as far as the social media stuff, it's so crappy, like you said. It's people in the old days, you had to make a hate letter, you had to send it, write it, fold it up, mail it, stamp it, and that time.
Oh yeah, gotten some of those.
Now it's like you send something out, blang, blang, bang, throw it out there, not even thinking second of thoughts about it, and it's out there.
Yeah, the people who use Twitter handle and not their real name, they think that's anonymity.
Exactly. I'm barely on Facebook myself. I can't stand social media. It's like at first I go on chat rooms, and you have the chat room tough guys and everything else while I was talking crap. And
right.
It's as bad as that. It's not worse.
Yeah. No, that's why I'm not on Facebook. I mean, the show is, but I'm not personally. That's and maybe I'm.
And the show gets some really awful, hurtful stuff.
Yeah.
It's great if you can build a defense against that mentally, but not everybody can.
Yeah, but they're fools. This is the wrong era to be what they are. And here's why. Everything you say that's mean and stupid instantly boomerangs back on you because you didn't know how to word it in an elegant or eloquent way, and you didn't know how to make your point without using mostly cruelty around it, and that gets thrown back at you now. You got to either evolve or you will perish for doing that on the internet because that trick doesn't work anymore.
Yeah.
We instantly use it against you. So you're just throwing us a grenade with the pin still in, and we toss it back without.
Yeah. God will unfriend you.
Yeah.
Defriend, whatever the kids are calling it.
Right. I just want you to know.
God will give you a big, not a like.
No, and so will the public.
Right.
Exactly. And public to someone on the internet who's a troll is God.
Yeah. 45 minutes after the hour. Back with the remaining moments. Rick Overton live on the Stephanie Miller Show. The Stephanie Miller Show. Welcome to it. 51 minutes after the hour. 1-800-STEP-12, the phone number. How did we know this was going to happen? Anytime Rush Limbaugh says something horrible and mean about, well, in this case,
a celebrity,
right?
Yeah.
Okay, well, because I knew I was going to hit the news wires as that. Oh, liberals are worse. This is what blah blah blah.
Right.
Okay, so what is Weasel Zippers? What is that?
It's a site like Newsbusters. They think they whenever a liberal says something even remotely controversial, they post
so I'm going to
it.
get more hate on my Twitter feed now today because the headline is Lib Radio host Stephanie Miller wishes Dick Cheney died instead of Robin Williams. Which, of course, I never said.
Never said that.
Never said. Anyway, let's review what Rush Limbaugh said in politicizing Robin Williams' death yesterday.
You had to attach not a philosophy, but an attitude to a leftist worldview. It's one of pessimism and darkness, sadness. They're never happy, are they? Do you know that the real reason
he doesn't sound happy.
Robin Williams killed himself? He had it all, but he had nothing. Made everybody else laugh, but was miserable inside. I mean, it fits a certain picture or a certain image that the left has. I mean, they talk about low expectations and this general unhappiness and so forth.
Okay, so we had even a conservative call to say that it was pretty abhorrent.
Yes,
today.
Yeah, right on, conservative. An actual conservative is
but
what
this
you're
is,
saying.
and watch, this will end up on Hannity's left-wing hate speech tonight.
Of course.
Let's see. Nobody does vitriol better than so-called progressives. This came originally via Truth Revolt. That must be another one. On Tuesday's The Stephanie Miller Show, the progressive talker made it clear she would much rather be talking about the death of Dick Cheney rather than the suicide of national treasure Robin Williams. Say that. Yeah. Throughout her radio show, Miller and guest comedian Kathleen Madigan spoke of the many addictions and problems that played a part in Williams' decision to take his life. Miller mentioned how Williams' previous heart surgery could have led to depression, especially when combined with cocaine use. That must have triggered a reference to Cheney in her mind because she had a broader point to make. My point is that Dick Cheney is still alive. For some reason, Robin Williams, a national treasure, and Dick Cheney is still alive. Clearly, first of all, it's a joke, and secondly, I didn't say I wish that he had died. Yeah. I mean, we were saying it's the fact that he's, on TV everywhere spewing vitriol about this president.
Absolutely.
Right. Yeah. They give themselves a pass whenever they do stuff like that and then hyper attack and exaggerate when the other side does it. Their worst day is when everyone figures out that that's the trick behind it all. Yeah. And I don't care which side does it. If we wipe out both sides doing that, I'd be a happier person at the end of that day. I think they're America's waking up to the basic idea of a comic like you will expose. I don't care about the separate incidences. You're exposing the trick behind it. Take anything that they shoot one way, paint it up like it's the other, and send it back out again. That's right.
Right.
It's a shell game.
There's the Truth Revolt headline. Stephanie Miller, too bad Robin Williams died instead of Dick Cheney.
That's not.
I mean, yeah,
that's
exactly.
not what you said.
No.
Wow.
Let's see.
That's how rumors start.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Yes.
Humor's lost on the right.
Yes.
Humor switches to rumor.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I said, they're quoting me. My point in all this is Dick Cheney's still alive. For some reason, Robin Williams, a national treasure, and Dick Cheney is still alive. Suddenly, Madigan jumped aboard and chimed in with still talking, too, giving interviews. Miller adds, apparently not depressed, won't shut up about what's wrong. Oh, he has a lot of thoughts about Iraq now.
Yeah.
Is that...
Yeah.
That's the point you were making.
Yes.
That's actually...
Yeah. Is that the same thing? I don't think so.
No, that's not the same thing. I was wishing he was dead.
Okay. Rob in Chicago, you're on the Stephanie Miller Show. Hello, Rob.
Hi, Steph. I just wanted to thank you three for really speaking responsibly and forcefully and compassionately about this subject of depression because, you know, for so long it's been stigmatized and people are shamed and they, because of this, they don't seek treatment. In the past, before the ACA, they were denied a treatment a lot of times as a pre-existing condition. If you had Prozac or anything in your health history, forget it. And so now we're learning that it's a disease and not a character flaw. And if I think people like you and Rick and Chris are really doing, you know, a really terrific service by saying the things that you are. And you know, in the midst of this tragedy, if we can find any silver linings, I guess that you know, you all are spooning them out. So thanks for what you're doing.
Thank you, Rob.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thanks,
yeah. By the way, you're spectacular today. Kathleen Madigan was great yesterday too. Just I think it is long overdue. You know, just a real honest discussion about a lot of this stuff. She was also, I was saying, she was Forrest Gump yesterday. She is in every news story, and she's from this place in Missouri that all of this, you know, this
the rioting,
is going on. And all these stuff in this article, of course, is dead on, is what Kathleen was saying about the racial. You know, she was saying one of the big problems is that it's a majority black community, and the whole police force pretty much is white.
White, yeah.
All the public officials are white, and it's...
She said it's an old boys club, you know, where they only let people into the force that are like them. And it has been that way for
a lot
years
of it.
Yeah,
there's a lot of it.
It's a borderline southern state.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's pretty prevalent.
So, and now the tension, I don't know if you saw this latest thing, has gotten worse. A police officer, there was video captured by CNN of a police officer yelling at protesters saying, bring it, all of you animals, bring it. And Kathleen...
They're baiting a riot.
Yeah.
They're trying to start a riot.
So much...
Don't take the bait. If you know that's what your opponent wants... Don't ever give your opponent what they actually want.
And it's gotten to the point now where the FAA has made a no-fly zone over Ferguson, Missouri.
You can't see where they're rigging the riot to occur and mobilizing forces to make a fight so that they'll be ready and stand there for it. Don't take that bait. Let them look stupid sitting there in that gear without it.
Right.
Sue them. It's your only really great weapon is clean that coffer of that police department out.
Yeah.
They want you to validate the purchase of their military equipment, and it's a trap.
And Kathleen was saying, and I think it is true, what the police are doing is making it worse. They're not releasing video. They're not going to release the name of the officer involved. It looks more and more suspicious. And one of the kids that was with him, his lawyer, said the police haven't even interviewed him. He was with...
no, they're baiting it. They're trying to start a riot on Obama's watch. Don't take the bait. Invert, let them arrest you, sue them. Sue them. More and more lawsuits are winning every single time now. It's your weapon. Use it.
Yeah. Rick Overton, you were extraordinary. Thank you, sir.
Thank you
for
coming in.
58 minutes after the hour. We will see you tomorrow on the Stephanie Miller Show.